You might have seen some of my videos about the pros and cons of living in Durango, or the 10 reasons you wouldn't want to move to Durango if you don't like these things. Out of those videos, we really pulled from the top things, and we're getting after it right now. What's up, guys? This is Jon Burden over at Woosah Properties here in Durango, Colorado. We are licensed realtors here in Durango, and if you're even thinking about moving to Durango, make sure to give us a call, text, email, days, nights, weekends. We've got your back when it comes to moving here to Durango. Now let's get after the video. The first thing, you have to excuse me, I've got a list right over here. First thing on my list is services. So even just things like restaurants, stores, local stores, you'll see that the hours are not just your typical 9 to 5 or 7 to 6. You'll see in the fall, kind of the shoulder season in between summer and winter, some of these stores, some of these restaurants will just be closed for 2 weeks. Some of the hours will just be off. They might just close at 3 p.m. one day and you show up and they're closed. The hours online sometimes won't be accurate. And again, I want to say I'm going back to talking to people that I've talked to in the community about this. And they've said this is one of their biggest concerns or just frustrations is they'll see online, they'll check their hours, they close at 5, they'll go there at 4, and they'll be closed.
The store is now closing.
And so that is one of the issues where there's a lot of job postings. There's a lot of these businesses looking for employees.
There they are. Attention employees.
And they're having trouble finding employees, and they have to shut down early because of just employees and staffing. So something to add on to that, there's a lake called Electra Lake, real close to Purgatory Ski Resort, and there was a awesome restaurant right on the lake. Unfortunately, they shut down. I'm not sure if they're planning on opening back up. It doesn't look like it as far as the restaurant itself. And a lot of these places, just giving you that example, because a lot of these places have been affected by, or just are affected by the seasons, right? So they can't be open in the winter because it's, tons of snow on the ground. You can't really get back to that lake. And so keep in mind, some of these places, as you get further into the mountains, are going to be affected by the seasons. Some won't be, again, open in that shoulder season. You go to somewhere like Ouray or especially Telluride, kind of in that season right before the snow starts coming, kind of in mid-November. Telluride will even shut down for a few weeks, and they're getting ready for the ski season. So Durango is a little bit similar in that way. We just don't have quite as many tourists, quite as many people coming to the shops. So it's harder for these places to stay open in that kind of shoulder season, that fall time where it's not quite where there's snow on the ground, not the time where we have a lot of people coming out to ski, but it's not summer either. And so that's the first thing. The second one is the airlines. It definitely is tricky to get, not necessarily to get flights, but to fly out. Sometimes it can be really difficult. The last flight that I was on had a delay of, I think, a couple hours. I was trying to get to Florida. We were kind of helping with the hurricane situation out there. And so I was trying to get out there. They, got at the airport at 6 for an 8 o'clock flight. They got delayed. And then I ended up missing my flight from Chicago. Fortunately, they were able to get me on another flight and I made it, but it was looking like I was gonna have to stay the night in Chicago. I also have some really good friends that travel a lot for work, and that's one of their main issues and frustrations with Durango is you always have to get a flight from here, usually to Denver, and then get a connector from there to go somewhere else. And so we do have an airport. As I've said in my pros and cons videos, it's a great plus compared to some other mountain towns. But we only have 2 airlines going out of here, and there are definitely a lot of delays, a lot of issues with that kind of stuff. And so that just comes with the territory of being a small town. Not to downplay all the work that they're doing at the airport, but it's just something that can be a frustration. And even if you're not missing flights or having delays, it's still tough because you've got to get a connector flight most of the time to get to somewhere like Texas or Chicago or Florida. There's not really many direct flights. Now, the next thing on my list is the phone signal. I don't have a signal. It's pretty tricky and tough, to be honest. I am looking forward to I heard that I believe Elon Musk's company is coming out with, they're partnering with a cell phone company to where within the next couple of years, we should be able to have signal, up in the mountain area, no matter what, because of the cell phone or satellite setup that he has. I don't know all the exact technicalities on that or technical terms on that, but it looks pretty promising. But I would say we switched from, let me think. We switched carriers, and then the carrier that we have now still doesn't work great. And so it's a little bit frustrating. You definitely want to look into, based on the area that you want to buy in, kind of look into signal service there, that kind of thing. Make sure to test out your phone when you go to visit the home, or have us, kind of give you an idea on that. Then internet can be iffy as well. So you really just want to be careful and just get an idea of what the best internet is for that subdivision in particular. And this even varies depending on even within one subdivision. So you could have the bottom of one subdivision has great signal and great internet. And then as you go to the top of the subdivision, or vice versa, because they're in a forested area. The next thing on my list is that it's really tricky to shop here.
There's no shopping mall.
I was asking a family member their thoughts on this list that I was creating for this video. They said most of the things that they're buying have to be at Walmart. Of course, unless you're ordering on Amazon, but as far as buying locally, there's just not many options for men's clothing. And so going to Walmart is one of the only choices. There are some great great stores in town, but there's just not many options for affordable shopping either. Then my next thing kind of is in a line with services that I mentioned earlier, is going to be jobs. Goes back to hours. There's a lot of job postings online. People are looking for people to work. They're not getting a lot of applications, so they're having to shut down early. Just those hours operations are iffy, and websites aren't updated, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier. And so I will kind of throw a bonus one in here, is the ice. So I think if you're coming from an area where you're not used to driving on the roads with ice and snow and that kind of stuff, it definitely can be a real shock. I highly recommend even looking into a course on driving, in those inclement weather conditions, trying to just not drive if you can avoid it when there's ice on the road. Because a lot of people that live here are very cautious. They're very good drivers, in my opinion, especially compared to somewhere where you might just get ice once a year, or it might snow barely at all. Most people are very good at driving, but it can be pretty intimidating and kind of scary if you've got black ice on the road and you've got to get to town. Especially if you end up buying in one of these subdivisions where you've got a nice incline. Let's say you want to buy a home in the summer or the spring, and you see, man, these views are gorgeous from this home, but you've obviously got to drive up a relatively steep road to get up there. And there's some stunning neighborhoods, and I wouldn't necessarily dissuade you from that, because a lot of these neighborhoods, especially if they're paved, they're going to do a great job of taking care of those roads. But let's say, it's snowing, consistently throughout the day, and you need to get into town. There's still going to likely be ice on the road. So that's something to really just keep in mind as you are looking at different neighborhoods. If you feel comfortable with that concept, or you feel like you don't need to get to town quite a bit, maybe you don't work in town, or you're able to work from home. And so guys, if you're even thinking about moving to Durango, make sure to give us a call, text, email, days, nights, weekends. Again, we're a licensed real estate team, and we've got your back when it comes to moving to Durango. Thank you so much for watching.